Welcome in to the 48 Minutes podcast from Believe. Our normal host, Ross Geiger, won't be with us tonight, so I'll do my best to fill his shoes. I'm Bruce Bernstein, longtime NBA coordinating producer at ESPN. I had the privilege to soak up knowledge from the best hoop analysts in the business, and one of them is with us tonight. He gets a formal introduction in a minute or two, but first, my co-host, Michael Worldby Freer, senior writer at Stat Factor, where he creates analytic and research material for a number of NBA announced teams. This is episode number 231 as we honor our great pal Kurt Rambis, who wore number 31 for the Lakers, winning 4 championships with tonight's guest. He was the gritty power forward who did lots of hard work on defense on the boards for the Showtime dynasty. So Kurt, also a former colleague of mine at ESPN. Our guest tonight, for sure, knows Kurt very well. Byron Scott, what can I say about you, man? Great NBA player, great head coach, Lakers legend, grew up in Inglewood, ran in the shadow of the Forum, LA's top shooting guard, 10 seasons, 3 chips. Head coach for 4 teams. Nets brought him to the finals twice in 02 and 03. Coach of the year for the Hornets in 08. And he even worked as a TD analyst at ESPN, where we spent a fun season working together back in the 2009-10 season. He is the ageless one, Byron Scott. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate it. Good to see you again.
You too. Hey, so before we get started, you're also a podcaster, right? Tell us a little bit about your show.
Yeah, I am a podcaster. I have Byron Scott's Fastbreak that we started airing a couple of years ago and been having a lot of fun doing it. As you know, it's great to talk to people that you really think you know, but you really don't know them. You don't get a chance to really talk to them like that. So it's been a lot of fun for me to have some of the guests on. And one of my guests was Dave Winfield a couple of years ago. And Dave and I have known each other for years, but we sit down during the podcast and we said, man, you know what? We've known each other for over 20 years, but we've never had a sit-down conversation. So that's what I enjoy about doing the podcast. I get to sit down with people that I really admire and I love being around, and had great careers and done some great things in this world. And I get to kind of dive in a little bit deeper and getting to know them and what makes them tick.
Hey, man, Dave was a great college basketball player at the University of Minnesota. He was a bad man.
Yeah, 3-star. This guy was unbelievable. I mean, basketball, football, baseball. He probably could have went, to the NBA and into NFL as well. I mean, he was that good in all 3 sports. So it was good bringing that up when I talked to him. And one of the nicest guys you ever want to meet. Dave is just an unbelievable person.
Well, you were always friends with some baseball players. I remember seeing you and Darryl Strawberry and Eric Davis hitting batting practice home runs in Dodger Stadium about 1,000 years ago. We ran that video on one of our shows.
Yeah, you know what? I grew up with those 2 guys, and we played AAU ball together. We played basketball together. We've known each other since we were like 12 years old. And Eric Davis was our point guard. I was a shooting guard, and then Darryl was our small forward. And we played all the way until we got to high school, and then we went our separate ways. Eric went to Fremont High School, and then Darryl went to Crenshaw, and both of those guys made a name of themselves in the baseball world. And I went to Morningside and made a name for myself in the basketball world. So we had a great friendship, and even to this day when we see each other, it brings back a ton of memories, obviously.
Okay, so we had Michael Cooper on this show last summer, okay? And I told him I had worked with some former Lakers like Irvin, Kurt, and yourself. And he interrupted me. He practically roared into the mic, "You mean Magic, Superman, and Baby B." Now listen, you're a grown-ass man. You look around 40, but you'll never see 40 again. So when you guys got together last summer in Hawaii, do your old teammates still call you Baby B?
Yes. We still call Coop. We still call Magic Buck. Everybody Cap. Kareem is Cap. Everybody still has their nicknames. And that was an unbelievable trip, Bruce, to go back to Hawaii, where we used to have, training camp, and for Magic to bring back the Showtime reunion and bring all those guys together for that week. It was an amazing time. And we reminisced a lot. And we went on the court. We didn't move like we used to, it was a little bit slower, but we had fun just going over, and Rouse was conducting practice, and it was just a special time. And I think, everybody to this day who went, really appreciate what Magic and Pat Riley were able to do as far as bringing us all together and having that kinship of bringing, that team back. And man, it was so much fun, and having the wives be there as well. It was something that we needed, and I'm glad that Magic did it. Along with Rouse, and something that I'll never forget.
Hey, man, that's just such a family thing, sounds very typical of that organization. A lot of
Yeah,
people that
yeah.
don't really know the Lakers, they think, oh, it's this big corporate thing. It really isn't. It's kind of like a mom and pop, or at least before the sale anyway, it's kind of like a mom and pop shop.
Well, Dr. Buss wanted to make it that way. He wanted it to be a more family-oriented type organization, and if you wore that purple and gold, you were family. And I think it just kind of trickled down to, Jerry West, all the way down to Pat Riley, and down to the players, and that's how we still kind of feel about each other. I think this organization, especially the players that I played with in that '80s and '90s group, we are probably still closer now than we were even then, because I think we all see the light at the end of the tunnel. Obviously, is coming, but anytime we can get together, it is a special, special treat. And I think we're one of the few organizations that has that type of camaraderie with each other.
So I want to take you back to the very beginning. I'm going to let Michael get in a word in edgewise here soon, but I got some stuff I got to handle here. Okay, you joined the Lakers in a trade before you ever played an NBA game. You were drafted by the San Diego Clippers. They traded you to the Lakers for Norm Nixon, who was a beloved veteran guy on the team. There was others involved in the deal as well. But given that Norm was a longtime Laker, he had a couple chips there. Did you deal with any hostility in the locker room or get any extra rookie hazing when you joined the team?
Boy, did I. Because Norm, like you say, was very beloved, and he was Magic and Coop's boy. So when I got there, those two especially decided to make it rough on me the first, couple of days of practice. And it really kind of lasted for about a week until I finally said, okay, that's enough. Guys, I understand what you're doing. I'm not going to take these elbows and all this pushing around anymore. And they told me afterward, well, we had to test you to see if you were tough enough to handle it, and you passed the test. So me standing up for myself, after a while is what they wanted to see. And after that, me, Magic, and Cooper were the three amigos from that point on, and we've been together ever since.
Hey, Byron, you were knee deep in one of arguably the greatest era of the NBA's greatest rivalry, the Lakers and Celtics.
Yeah.
I remember hearing Kevin McHale one time describe the Lakers as the kind of a team where you could play well and still lose. Now, the hatred aside for each other, was the feeling mutual among the Lakers in regards to the Celtics? Was it that there was obviously the hatred, but they were the kind of team where you could play well and still not win the game, the way Kevin described it from his perspective?
Oh, absolutely. I think we all felt when we played them, we had to play great basketball. We couldn't play just well. We had to play great. We had to play better than we would play against any other basketball team in the NBA. But when we played against the Celtics, we understood that we could play well and still lose the game. If we played really well, we had a chance to win. If we played great, we would beat them. So I think what Kevin said is accurate, and I think we all felt that way. And they brought out the best in us. We knew they were, when we looked at the Boston Celtics, if we were going to win a championship, we kind of knew that we had to go through them. So I think the hatred was real because of the fact that, we hated the fact that they were so good, and they probably hated the fact that we were so good as well. But it's so good after it was all said and done, Mike, and we got a chance to be in a room with those guys 5, 6, 7, 10 years later. We found out we had a lot in common. They wanted to win just like we did. They just played a different style of basketball. But also we understood, just like they did, that the name on the front of the jersey was much more important than the name on the back. And it was all about the team. It wasn't about the individuals. And I think that's what made us both so great. And the fact that we both had unbelievable leaders, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson.
Now, I want to ask you a couple of moments from this rivalry, get your thoughts on this. First off, in 1984, was the clothesline that McHale delivered on Rambis the dirtiest play you've ever witnessed in your career?
No, not the dirtiest.
No.
Back in those days, they were a whole lot more worse than that. But I think when you look at who did it, that's why it's almost like shocking that Kevin McHale would be the one that would clothesline Kurt Rambis. You can understand if it was ML Carr. You can understand if it was the Chief, Robert Parrish, but Kevin McHale, taking Kurt Rambis out, I think we were all a little taken back and shocked by it. I think even the Celtics were taken back and shocked by it. So, but it wasn't the dirtiest. I got clotheslined by Sam Perkins that, it could have ended my career, and I came down and Kurt came down on his back. I came down on my face, so it was a few other plays that was probably a lot dirtier than that.
And the other question I was going to ask you, the victory you had over the Celtics in Game 6 of 1985 NBA Finals, was that your finest moment as a player?
Without a doubt. Because again, that was the first time a Laker team had ever beaten the Boston Celtic team, and we did it in the Garden, and we did it in a very profound fashion. And it was funny because I remember my dad was giving me a ride to the airport, and he asked me, he said, "So what do you think?" And at that time, you guys can remember it was a 2-3-2. That's how the series went. So we're up 3-2 going back to Boston for 2 games left. And my dad said, "What do you think?" I said, "Oh, we're going to win this in 6. It's not going 7." So when we won that in 6 and Magic came to practice a couple of days before and said, "Everybody pack for 1 game. We're not playing 2 games in Boston." So we had it in our mind that we were going to win game 6. And I don't think a lot of people felt that we would win game 6. My dad even was like, "Well, I thought you would win, but I thought it would go 7." So that for me was an unbelievable feeling to be able to go into Boston, win the championship in Boston, and be the first Laker team to do it.
I can still remember Kareem walking off the court, running off the court with his arms in the air. It was just
with that big old finger up in the air,
I was watching.
We got the monkey off all our other guys back. The Elgin Baylors, the Will Chamberlains, the Jerry West. We got the monkey off those guys back, and so we were having a very proud moment at that time.
Now, you played your first 10 years in LA, then you went to Indiana, then Vancouver, and then you returned to the Lakers for your final season. And when you returned, you were a key teammate and mentor for Kobe Bryant. And then in his final 2 seasons, you were his head coach. So you knew Kobe about as well as anybody in the basketball world could possibly know Kobe. So what stood out to you the most about him as a player, as a man, just, any way you want to say it?
Oh man, Bruce, his dedication to his craft, it was special. I really, I got a chance to see a lot of great players, come into this game and do some fabulous things, but I never seen one like Kobe who worked as hard as he did and was as dedicated as he was. I mean, he really spent 24/7 thinking about basketball, and it was amazing to watch his maturation from his rookie year to this icon, and again, his rookie year, I told people then, I said, this kid's going to be really good. I didn't know he was going to be that good. I didn't know he was going to be an icon. I didn't know he was going to be a 5-time champion, a 17-time All-Star, one of the best defensive players we've seen at that position. I just didn't see all that, but I did see greatness in him. And to see him achieve the level of success that he was able to achieve and be a part of it from the beginning to the end was special for me. So I remember game 82 where he scored the 60 points and he came off the floor and then gave me an embrace and just told me he loved me, and I said how much I loved him. That right there is something that I'll never forget. But to watch this man go to work every single day and the type of effort that he put into his craft to be the very best that he could be was something that I'll never forget.
Hey, Byron, now, along with being a part of the Lakers-Celtics rivalry, you were also part of arguably the greatest rivalry in the 90s, which was Pacers and Knicks back in the 90s. I was wanting to get your thoughts on that, having to face Pat Riley as an opposing coach. And then, the teams are very similar. We all knew that. But just like Boston and LA coming from different backgrounds or whatever, so does Indianapolis and New York City. Can you describe what that was like being a part of that rivalry?
Yeah, that was great. And I agree with you. I think that was one of the better rivalries in the NBA at that time. The cast of characters were fantastic. You had, Patrick Ewing and Charles Oakley, they were, physical, tough guys. And then we had the Davis boys, Antonio Davis and Dale Davis. And then we had Big Rick Smith, and then obviously we had Reggie Miller, who was, unbelievable. And the matchup with him and John Starks just going at it every series and every play. I thought it was great, for TV, because of the fact that we didn't like them, they didn't like us. There wasn't a hatred there. I think it was a serious amount of respect for each other. And then you got Pat Riley and you got Larry Brown. You got 2 Hall of Fame coaches, that are going, wits to wits with each other. So for me, playing against Riles was fun because I knew him. I knew how competitive he was. I knew how prepared he was. So anytime I could make a shot that really meant something, it felt great because it was kind of like sticking it to him a little bit too. But he obviously brought a different brand of basketball, to New York, going from Showtime to New York. He kind of slowed it down. He played more of a physical brand of basketball. But I also think it tells you how great a coach he was, because sometimes you have to adapt to the players you have. They can't adapt to the type of style that you play. So those rivalries was really fun. I really enjoyed those.